The blizzard raged across the Montana wilderness with unforgiving fury. The wind howled through the trees, carrying ice particles that could strip flesh from bone in minutes. Temperatures had plummeted to record lows even for the harshest winter humans had experienced in decades. It was in these conditions that the damaged scout vessel breached Earth's atmosphere. Naya gripped the controls of her failing ship as warning signals flashed across the control panel. The vessel shuddered violently. As it descended through the storm clouds, smoke filled the cabin, choking her lungs and stinging her amber eyes. Emergency landing protocols engaged. The ship's AI announced, its voice distorted by failing systems. Catastrophic hull damage detected. Survival probability 17%. Beside her, strapped into a specialized containment unit, her companion Frostbite stirred anxiously. The juvenile crystal dragon, no larger than a large dog, emitted a low humming sound that resonated with Naya's own distress. His scales shimmered with an icy blue glow, dimming and brightening with each labored breath he took. "Hold on, my friend," Naya whispered, her melodic voice strained. "We will survive this. We must." The ship plummeted through the final layer of clouds, revealing a vast expanse of snow-covered forest below. Naya braced herself as the vessel careened toward the ground. The impact threw her against her restraints, knocking the air from her lungs as the ship carved a deep furrow through. The frozen earth silence fell heavy and oppressive, broken only by the occasional crackle of damaged systems and the soft whine from Frostbite. Naya unbuckled herself with trembling hands. The crash had reopened a wound on her side inflicted during her escape from the Horizon Collective's attack on her homeworld. Silvery blood seeped through her thermal suit, freezing upon contact with the frigid air. She winced, applying pressure to the injury. "Status report," she commanded, "life support failing." The AI responded, "Power reserves at 12%, hull integrity compromised, recommend immediate evacuation." Naya moved quickly, gathering essential supplies. Her people, the Sylvans, had been interstellar diplomats for millennia, recognizable throughout the galaxy by their tall, slender forms, pointed ears, and natural affinity for living harmoniously with other species. Now they were extinct, hunted to near annihilation by the Horizon Collective, a parasitic hive mind determined to eliminate any resistance to their silent invasion. As far as she knew, Naya was the last of her kind. She approached Frostbite's containment unit, releasing the locks. The dragon uncurled his serpentine body, stretching cramped limbs. His crystalline scales caught what little light remained in the cabin, refracting it in mesmerizing patterns. "The atmosphere is breathable but dangerously cold," Naya informed him, activating his perception filter. "You must remain hidden from the humans. They are not ready to see you." Frostbite made a sound of acknowledgement as the perception filter engaged, rendering him invisible to anyone but Naya. A technology developed by her people for diplomatic missions, where some species might react poorly to the presence of a dragon. With the ship rapidly losing power, Naya secured her most precious cargo, a data crystal containing evidence of the Collective's activities and their plans for Earth. The humans had no idea they were next on the Collective's list, targeted for infiltration and eventual consumption. External temperature -40°C. The AI warned. Exposure will result in rapid hypothermia for Sylvan physiology. Naya secured her thermal suit and pulled up her hood. The suit had sustained damage in the crash and would provide limited protection at best. She took a deep breath, activated the emergency exit, and stepped into the howling storm. The cold hit her like a physical blow, stealing her breath and sending shards of pain through her extremities. The wound on her side throbbed intensely as she trudged through snow that reached her knees. Frostbite followed close behind, leaving no tracks. Thanks to the perception filter, Naya consulted her scanner. Human settlements appeared as glowing dots on the display, the nearest one approximately 3 kilometers to the east, painful but manageable given her condition. She pushed forward, each step a battle against the elements and her failing strength. The information she carried was too important, too critical for the survival of this world. Her mission had evolved from seeking refuge to warning humanity of the coming storm. After an hour of brutal struggle through the worsening blizzard, Naya spotted lights ahead. A research Outpost according to her scanner. A collection of prefabricated buildings surrounded by security fencing. Hope flared briefly in her chest. As she approached the main gate, automated lights illuminated her, revealing her alien features to the security cameras. She raised her hands in the universal gesture of peace. Please. She called out her translator, converting her words to English. I seek sanctuary. I am injured and require assistance. Movement behind the fence caught her attention. Guards emerged, weapons raised. Their faces twisted with unmistakable fear and disgust. Halt right there, one shouted. What are you? I am Naya of the Sylvan Diplomatic Corps, she replied, trying to keep her voice steady, despite the cold seeping into her bones. My ship crashed. I have critical information for your leaders. The guards exchanged glances. Their expressions hardened further. One raised a communication device, speaking urgently into it. The settlement is under quarantine, he announced. No entry especially. He hesitated, his eyes narrowing as he took in her clearly non-human features. Whatever you are, protocol demands we report any unusual activity to Central Command. You need to leave now. Please. Naya tried again. I mean no harm. The temperature is fatal to my physiology. I simply need shelter until we said leave. The second guard interrupted, raising his weapon higher. Before we consider you a threat. Beside her, invisible to the humans. Frostbite growled softly, his body tensing. Naya placed a calming hand on his back. I understand, she said, backing away. I will seek help elsewhere. As she turned to leave, one guard fired a warning shot into the snow at her feet. And don't come back, he called after her. Naya stumbled away from the outpost, disappointment weighing heavily on her shoulders. She consulted her scanner again. The next settlement was 5 kilometers southwest, a small town according to the data. The journey was excruciating. The cold penetrated deeper with each passing minute. Her wound leaked more silvery blood, creating a trail behind her that quickly froze. Frostbite pressed against her legs, trying to share his warmth. But the young dragon was struggling with the extreme conditions himself. By the time they reached the town, Naya was shivering uncontrollably. Her extremities had gone numb, a dangerous sign for a Sylvan. The scanner showed multiple heat signatures indicating dwellings throughout the small community. She approached the first house, light glowing warmly through frosted windows. Gathering her remaining strength, she knocked on the door. A middle-aged woman opened it, her expression initially curious, then shifting rapidly to horror. She slammed the door without speaking. Naya tried the next house and the next. Each time the response was the same. Fear-revulsion doors slammed in her face. Some humans shouted threats. Others made religious gestures to ward off what they perceived as evil. Go back to where you came from. Monster, demon, freak. After the 7th rejection, Naya began to understand. The Horizon Collective had already begun their work here. Their neural manipulators were active in the population, increasing xenophobia and fear of the unknown. It explained the extreme reactions to her appearance. Still, she persisted, moving from house to house, business to business, even approaching a local law enforcement building. Each time the result was the same. By the 16th rejection, Naya could barely stand. Her vision blurred and her thoughts grew sluggish, signs of critical hypothermia. Frostbite whined anxiously, nudging her forward. The scanner showed one final heat signature at the edge of town, a solitary dwelling set apart from the others. It was her last hope. As Naya approached the 17th location, she collapsed in the snow. Her strength finally giving out, Frostbite materialized beside her, the perception filter failing as the dragon's own system struggled. We tried, Naya whispered to her companion. Perhaps another will come after us to warn them. As darkness crept into the edges of her vision, Naya thought she saw a door opening, light spilling out onto the snow. A human figure rushing toward her, then nothing but cold and silence. Olivia Mason sat before her wall of monitors, sipping hot tea as the blizzard raged outside. Her cabin nestled at the edge of town was designed for isolation. Reinforced walls, triple-glazed windows, and an independent power system ensured she remained comfortable even in the harshest conditions. The former xenolinguist had chosen this remote location carefully after her forced retirement from the International Space Coalition. 15 years she had dedicated to studying potential extraterrestrial languages, preparing humanity for first contact. Her theories and protocols had once been respected, even celebrated. That was before the shift. The gradual but unmistakable change in human attitudes toward the possibility of alien life. It started subtly. Research funding cuts. Skeptical questions during her presentations. Then came the accusations of wasting resources on fantasy. The final blow was the classified memo labeling her a sympathizer, a potential threat to national security. They revoked. Her credentials destroyed her reputation and nearly imprisoned her. So Olivia retreated, built her sanctuary, and continued her work in private. The governments might have stopped looking to the stars, but she never would. A soft beep drew her attention to one of the security monitors' movement outside the perimeter fence. She expected to see another deer or perhaps a wolf driven down from the mountains by the severe weather. Instead, she saw a humanoid figure collapsing in the snow. Olivia leaned, closer, studying the image. The figure was tall, slender, with features obscured by a hood and the driving snow. But something about the proportions was wrong. Not quite human. Without hesitation, she grabbed her extreme weather gear and emergency medical kit. Years of isolation had not dulled her fundamental compassion. Whatever or whoever was out there was in trouble. She pushed through the howling wind, following the security lights that illuminated her property. The cold bit through her protective clothing, a reminder of how hostile these conditions were to human life, let alone anything else. Olivia found the figure face down in the snow, already partially covered by fresh powder. She knelt beside the still form and gently turned it over. Hood fell back, revealing a face that stole Olivia's breath. Not human. Definitely not human. The woman, if that term even applied, had skin, the color of pale amethyst with luminescent markings tracing delicate patterns across her temples. Her ears extended to elegant points, and her closed eyes were larger than human proportions would allow. Silver blood froze in trails from a wound at her side. For one breathless moment, Olivia could only stare. Then her training kicked in. She checked for signs of life, finding a pulse faint but present. The alien woman's skin was dangerously cold even by human standards. She noticed something else. A distortion in the air beside the fallen figure. Like heat waves rising from summer pavement, except in reverse. As she reached toward it, the distortion shifted and sparked. Olivia made her decision. Carefully, she lifted the alien woman, surprised by how light she was despite her height. Cradling her against her chest, she started back toward the cabin. Something followed. Her security systems registered movement, but the cameras showed nothing. It matched the distortion she had seen, a presence without visible form. Whatever it was, it seemed connected to her unexpected visitor. Inside the cabin, Olivia placed the alien woman on the couch nearest the fireplace. She increased the room temperature and gathered emergency thermal blankets. Removing the damaged outer garment revealed more silver-stained wounds and skin mottled with what appeared to be frostbite. It's not frostbite, Olivia reminded herself. Not on a creature that isn't human, but the tissue damage looked similar enough. She applied warming packs to the alien's core and extremities, careful to avoid the wound at her side. The bleeding had slowed, possibly. Due to the extreme cold, she cleaned it as best she could, applying a regenerative bandage from her advanced medical kit. As she worked, Olivia noticed the distortion again, now inside her home. It hovered nearby, seemingly watching her actions. "Your friend," I assume she said, addressing the invisible presence. "I won't hurt her. I promise." The distortion shimmered in response. Suddenly, the alien woman gasped, her eyes flying open. Olivia found herself staring into irises the color of liquid amber with no whites at all. The pupil expanded and contracted, adjusting to the light. The alien tried to sit up, making a sound of distress. "Easy," Olivia said, keeping her voice calm and gentle. "You're safe. I'm helping you." The alien woman studied her face intensely. then spoke, in a language unlike anything Olivia had ever heard. Despite 15 years studying theoretical extraterrestrial linguistics, the sounds and patterns were completely unfamiliar, musical, complex, and utterly beautiful. The alien seemed to realize the communication barrier. She reached slowly toward a device at her wrist which had been damaged in what Olivia now presumed was a crash. The device sparked when touched. Olivia nodded in understanding. She retrieved her tablet and opened a basic communication program she had developed years ago. It displayed simple images that transcended language barriers. Food, water, danger. Help. The alien woman watched with obvious intelligence. Her long fingers, delicate despite their unusual coloration, reached for the Tsuitomi tablet. She selected the water icon. Olivia brought a glass of water. The alien studied it carefully before taking a cautious sip. Her expression registered surprise, then relief. She drank the entire glass. The invisible distortion moved closer to the alien woman. Olivia watched, fascinated, as the air seemed to bend and shift. She had theories, dozens of them, but held her questions. The immediate need was medical care, not scientific curiosity. For the next hour, Olivia tended to her unexpected guest. The alien accepted her ministrations with caution that gradually gave way to trust. Her body temperature slowly increased and the silver blood flow from her wound finally stopped completely. As night deepened, Olivia prepared a simple broth rich in nutrients but free of potential allergens. The alien sniffed it cautiously before taking a small taste. Her eyes widened, and she consumed it eagerly. The invisible presence remained near, occasionally causing objects to shift slightly when it moved. Too close. Olivia pretended not to notice, giving whatever it was space to feel secure. After eating, the alien woman seemed stronger. She sat up straighter and pointed to herself. Naya. She said the word clear, despite her unusual vocal patterns. Olivia pointed to herself. Olivia. She responded. The alien Naya nodded. Then she gestured toward the invisible distortion and made a series of sounds that Olivia could not hope to reproduce. Olivia smiled acknowledgement. Was this truly happening? First contact, in her living room. The moment humanity had speculated about for centuries, and it was happening not to a government official or military personnel, but to a disgraced xenolinguist who had never stopped believing. Naya touched her damaged wrist device, again frustration evident in her expression. She tried several times to activate it without success. Olivia moved to her workstation and returned with a tool set designed for delicate electronics. She gestured to the device with a questioning expression. Naya hesitated, then extended her wrist. Olivia examined the device, careful not to touch the alien woman more than necessary. She identified several damaged components and a power source unlike anything she had encountered before, but the basic principles of circuitry remained universal. She began carefully repairing what she could. As she worked, the invisible distortion suddenly flickered. The air shimmered like a mirage, and then solidified into a form that made Olivia gasp. A dragon. Not the massive, fire-breathing monsters of human mythology, but unmistakably draconic. Its body was the size of a large dog, with a serpentine neck and tail. Its scales were crystalline, refracting light in mesmerizing patterns. The creature's eyes, intelligent and wary, fixed on Olivia. Naya spoke rapidly to the creature, which responded with a low harmonic sound. The dragon stepped forward cautiously. Its movements were fluid, graceful, despite obvious exhaustion. It approached Olivia, who remained perfectly still, her heart pounding in her chest. The dragon sniffed her, then made a soft trilling noise. It turned to Naya and seemed to communicate something important. Olivia found her voice at last. I've been waiting for someone like you. My whole life, she whispered, not caring that her words weren't understood. The emotion behind them was universal. They said I was crazy to believe. They said nothing was out there. The dragon settled beside Naya, who reached out to touch Olivia's hand. Her skin was warmer now. Closer, to human temperature. Her eyes conveyed gratitude. Outside, the storm continued to rage, but within the cabin a moment of profound significance had occurred. A connection across the stars. The beginning of something extraordinary, Olivia returned to repairing. The translation device with it working communication would become possible. Questions could be answered, including the most important one: why had this alien traveled so far, only to be rejected by humanity 17 times before finding sanctuary? Days passed as Naya recovered in the sanctuary of Olivia's cabin. The alien woman grew stronger with each sunrise. Her wounds began to heal, leaving faint silver traces on her lavender skin. The translation device now functioned at a basic level thanks to Olivia's expertise in xenolinguistics and electronics. The dragon, whom Naya called Frostbite, had become less cautious with each passing day. The crystalline creature now moved freely through the cabin, his scales catching the firelight and casting rainbow patterns across the walls. He had developed an unexpected fondness for the heating vents, often curling his serpentine body near them, emitting a soft harmonic hum that filled the room with gentle vibrations. Olivia sat cross-legged on the floor across from Naya, a digital tablet between them. The screen displayed a series of images and corresponding words in both English and phonetic approximations of Naya's language. They had established this routine each morning, adding new vocabulary, while refining pronunciation. "Your language is fascinatingly complex," Olivia remarked, selecting an image of the sun. "The structure seems to shift based on context." Naya nodded, her amber eyes brightening with understanding. The translator at her wrist converted her melodic speech into stilted but comprehensible English Sylvan language flows like, "Water changes shape with surroundings. English is like stone, solid, unchanging." Olivia smiled at the poetic comparison. The past 3 weeks had been the most extraordinary of her life. Each day brought new discoveries about Naya's species, the Sylvans, their cultural achievements, their diplomatic history, their tragic, near extinction. In turn, she had taught Naya about humanity, its diverse cultures, its technological development, its complicated history of both compassion and conflict. Frostbite approached, resting his crystalline head on Olivia's knee. She had grown accustomed to his weight and the slight chill that emanated from his scales. The dragon made a trilling sound as she gently stroked the ridge above his eye. "He trusts you," Naya observed. "This is rare." Crystal dragons bond with few outside their chosen companions. Olivia felt honored by the creature's trust. Though she had studied theoretical xenobiology, nothing had prepared her for the reality of interacting with actual extraterrestrial life forms. Her scientific curiosity was matched only by her growing affection for her unusual guests. Their language session concluded, as it always did, with Naya telling stories of her homeworld and Olivia sharing information about Earth. The exchange was not merely cultural but strategic. Both women knew that understanding would be crucial for what was to come. Later that evening, as snow fell silently outside, Naya stood before the wall of monitors in Olivia's communication center. The screens displayed news broadcasts from around the world: protests, violence, political upheaval. "It is as I feared," Naya said, her voice heavy with concern. "The neural manipulators have already been deployed. Their influence grows stronger." Olivia studied the images, reports of increasing hate crimes, violent attacks on immigrant communities, rising tensions between nations that had previously maintained peaceful relations. "The symptoms you're describing," she said, turning to Naya, "increased xenophobia, communication, breakdowns between nations, random acts of violence. They've been increasing globally for months. Everyone attributes it to political tensions, economic pressures, climate anxiety. But if what you're saying is true, the infiltration is already underway." Naya confirmed, retrieving a crystal data storage device from her salvaged belongings. She inserted it into an adapter Olivia had created, allowing it to interface with Earth technology. The screen filled with microscopic images of what appeared to be crystalline structures alongside complex diagrams. "The collective sends these neural manipulators through your atmosphere processors," Naya explained. "They are microscopic, nearly undetectable by your current technology. Once installed in human hosts, they gradually increase fear and aggression toward outsiders. Anyone perceived as different becomes a threat. This prepares the population for easier assimilation when the collective arrives." Olivia leaned closer, examining the structures. How do they spread through air-water shared resources? Naya replied, they are designed to be transmitted between hosts, multiplying slowly to avoid detection. The process takes approximately 1 Earth year from initial introduction to critical mass, and your people could detect them. Olivia guessed. Naya nodded. My species evolved specific sensory abilities that could identify the manipulators. We developed technologies to neutralize them. When the collective realized this, they began systematic elimination of all Sylvan populations across 3 galaxies. And now you're the last, Olivia said softly. Naya turned her gaze to the window beyond, which the blizzard had resumed, the last with knowledge of how to fight them. Yes, Frostbite approached, making a series of harmonic tones. The crystal dragon positioned himself between the women, his body emitting a soft blue glow. Olivia's hands trembled as she realized the full implications of what Naya had shared. If the neural manipulators had already infected much of Earth's population, how could they possibly combat something microscopic, widespread, and undetectable by human technology? She turned to Frostbite, who was now humming at a frequency just at the edge of human hearing. And him she asked, what's his role in all this? Crystal dragons produce a resonance field that disrupts the manipulators. Naya explained as Frostbite continued his soft humming. The frequency interferes with their crystalline structure, preventing them from functioning properly. It's why the collective hunted crystal dragons to near extinction alongside my people. A spark of hope ignited in Olivia's chest. Can he protect us then? Naya shook her head. He is too young, too small. His resonance field only extends a few meters at most. Strong enough to protect you and me, but not enough to make a difference on a global scale. Olivia began to pace, her mind racing through possibilities, combining her knowledge of Earth technology with what she had learned about Sylvan science. The resonance was essentially a frequency, a wave pattern. If it could disrupt the neural manipulators, then perhaps, unless she said, stopping suddenly, a dangerous idea forming. We find a way to amplify his resonance. Naya's eyes widened. Your technology is capable of this. Not currently, Olivia admitted. But I know someone who might help us adapt it. A former colleague from my days at the International Space Coalition, Dr. Grace Sullivan. She was developing resonance technology for deep space communication before she too was pushed out for supporting my theories on extraterrestrial contact. Frostbite made an excited chirping, sound sensing the shift in energy between the women. I have kept my communication channels secure and private. Olivia continued, moving to her computer system. I can reach out to Grace without alerting authorities. She typed rapidly, sending an encrypted message through channels known only to former ISC scientists. The message was brief, cryptic, containing just enough information to intrigue, without revealing too much. As Olivia worked, Naya retrieved a small device from her remaining gear, activating a holographic display that showed the solar system. How much time do we have? Olivia asked without looking up from her computer. Naya adjusted the display, zooming in on an area beyond Mars. The collective advanced scouts will arrive within 2 months. Their main force within 6. They are methodical, patient. They prefer to infiltrate rather than invade. Olivia finished sending her message, then turned to study the holographic display. How many ships? Hundreds, Naya replied, each carrying enough neural manipulators to infect an entire continent. They will target your major atmospheric processing facilities first, then water treatment, then food production. Frostbite growled softly, his tail lashing with agitation. The dragon's scales darkened, reflecting his distress. We need to accelerate your recovery, Olivia said to Naya. And I need to prepare my home for Grace, assuming she agrees to help. We will need space for a laboratory equipment power. As she spoke, her computer chimed. A response already. She opened the message, reading it quickly, then looked up, her eyes bright with determination. She will come. Grace is already on her way. She felt something was wrong for months now. Noticed the same patterns I did. Naya placed a hand on Olivia's shoulder, A gesture she had learned expressed solidarity among humans. Do you believe we can succeed? The odds are. Olivia smiled grimly. I was told the odds of extraterrestrial contact in my lifetime were infinitesimal. Yet here you are. The odds of finding someone who would help you apparently were 1 in 17. Yet here I am. Perhaps the odds are better than they appear. Frostbite approached, placing himself between them. His body began to glow brighter, the harmonic resonance increasing in strength and clarity. The sound filled the room, creating a sense of calm determination. Outside, the storm continued to rage, unaware that within this isolated cabin, 3 unlikely allies had just formed Earth's first resistance against an enemy humanity didn't even know existed yet. Dr. Grace Sullivan arrived 3 days later during a brief break in the winter storms. Her vehicle, a modified all-terrain truck loaded with equipment and supplies, navigated the snow-covered roads with determined precision. She was a tall woman with copper hair streaked with silver pulled back in a practical braid. Her weathered face showed lines of both laughter and worry. Intelligence shone in her green eyes as she embraced Olivia at the door. I thought I was the only one who noticed the patterns, she said, her voice low and intense. Something is happening to people, changing them. It started subtly at first, but now Olivia nodded, leading her friend inside. I have something to show you, something that will explain everything. Grace stopped, abruptly in the doorway, her eyes widening as she caught sight of Naya. The alien woman stood beside the fireplace, her lavender skin and amber eyes, unmistakably not human. Frostbite, partially visible, lay curled nearby, his crystalline scales shifting between visibility and the perception filter that still occasionally activated. Holy God, Grace whispered, her scientific mind already categorizing, analyzing, adapting to what her eyes were seeing. Actual extraterrestrials. You found actual first contact, Olivia confirmed. Or rather, first contact found me. The initial introductions were tense, Grace alternating between scientific excitement and natural caution. Naya remained patient, answering questions through her translator, while Frostbite observed, from a distance, gradually allowing his perception filter to fade completely. By evening, the 3 women sat around Olivia's kitchen table, mugs of hot tea before them, as Naya explained again the threat of the Horizon Collective. Grace listened intently, asking occasional pointed questions, her initial skepticism giving way to grim acceptance as the evidence mounted. You were right. All those years ago, Grace finally said, turning to Olivia. We were not alone in the universe. And you were right about preparing for contact, though not in the way any of us imagined. The neural manipulators, Olivia explained, are microscopic crystalline structures that attach to neural pathways. They increase fear, xenophobia, aggression, similar to parasites that can alter host behavior. I suspected something biological or chemical, Grace admitted, but not alien technology. She leaned forward, studying the microscopic images Naya had provided. These are incredible, perfectly designed to interface with human neurology, undetectable by our current scanning technology, and spreading rapidly. Naya added, every human who rejected me showed signs of manipulation. The irrational fear, the immediate aggression, the refusal to even consider helping, despite clear distress, but not you. Olivia. Grace turned to her friend. You took Naya in without hesitation. You show no signs of this manipulation. Naya nodded. Some humans appear naturally resistant. Your brain chemistry is somehow incompatible with the manipulators. You are rare, but not unique. The implications are staggering, Grace said. What percentage of the population is resistant? Perhaps 3%. Naya estimated, based on my observations and data from previous collective invasions, not enough to mount an effective resistance without intervention, which brings us to why I called you Grace. Olivia said, Frostbite's resonance can disrupt the manipulators, but his field is limited by his age and size. We need to find a way to amplify that resonance broadcast. it widely enough to neutralize the manipulators across at least this continent. Grace's eyes lit with understanding. A resonance amplifier, a global one. Not global. Not yet. Naya cautioned, we must start smaller. Prove the concept works before attempting larger-scale implementation. For the next week, Olivia's basement was transformed into a laboratory. Equipment salvaged from Naya's ship, combined with Grace's expertise in resonance technology, and Olivia's linguistic algorithms created an environment of extraordinary innovation. The three women worked tirelessly, Frostbite participating by allowing extensive scanning of his resonance patterns. They ate little, slept less. The urgency of their work drove them beyond normal human limitations. Naya shared knowledge of Sylvan technology that accelerated their progress by decades. Grace adapted Earth technology in ways never before attempted. Olivia served as the bridge between them, translating concepts across species barriers. Outside their sanctuary, the situation worldwide deteriorated. News reports documented increasing violence. Global leaders made threatening speeches against neighboring countries. Hate crimes surged. Governments began identifying citizens exhibiting resistance to the growing xenophobia, labeling them subversives, conspiracists, threats to national security. We are running out of time, Grace observed, watching the news broadcasts. Military units are mobilizing across borders. Martial law has been declared in 7 major cities. Naya studied the complex device taking shape on their workbench. The amplifier resembled a crystalline structure, similar to Frostbite's scales, but larger, integrated with Earth technology. The dragon watched with evident interest, occasionally approaching to hum at specific frequencies that caused portions of the device to resonate in response. How much longer? Olivia asked, her hands steady as she calibrated sensitive equipment. 3 days, perhaps 4. Grace replied, 2 if we work without sleep. Then we need to test it, ensure it won't harm humans while disrupting the manipulators. Naya suddenly straightened her head, tilting as though listening to something beyond human hearing. Frostbite too became alert, his scales darkening to deep blue. What is it? Olivia asked, recognizing the signs of distress. They are here, Naya said softly. Collective scouts. They have traced my ship, tracked the energy signature. How many? Grace demanded, already moving to secure the laboratory. Naya closed her eyes, concentrating. 3, perhaps 4. Small advance team. Gathering intelligence, preparing for the main force. How close? Within 50 kilometers, Naya replied. And moving closer, they will have detected the unique energy signature of crystal dragon resonance. Frostbite cannot hide from their scanners. Grace and Olivia exchanged glances, both understanding the implications. If the scouts reported back, the collective would know not only that Naya had survived, but that she had found allies on Earth, that she had revealed their plans. Their element of surprise would be lost. We need more time. Grace insisted, returning to the amplifier calibrations. 24 more hours, minimum, to complete the final connections test, the resonance pattern. Olivia looked at Naya, seeing the resolution forming in the alien woman's eyes. No, she said. You can't. I must. Naya responded, retrieving a crystalline weapon from her salvaged gear. It was slender, elegant, designed to disrupt the same energy patterns that powered the neural manipulators. I am a diplomat by training, but a warrior by necessity. My people fought the collective across 3 galaxies. I know their weaknesses. Frostbite growled, his intention clear. He would accompany his companion. No, little one. Naya knelt before the dragon, placing her hand on his head. You must remain here. Your resonance is the key to saving this world. The dragon made a sound of protest, but Naya continued speaking in their shared language, the harmonic soothing yet firm. After several moments, Frostbite reluctantly settled, his scales shifting to a muted gray, reflecting his distress. Olivia stepped forward. We should go together. 3 against 4. Naya shook her head. The scouts are not like me. They are fully integrated with collective technology. Their bodies enhanced, their reflexes accelerated, their minds linked. They would kill you before you could raise a weapon. And I need you here. Working. Completing the amplifier. Grace approached. You don't have to do this alone. We can alert authorities. Find another way. A sad smile touched Naya's lips. Your authorities are already compromised. The neural manipulators have reached those in power first. They would not believe you. They would not help. They might even capture us, study us, reverse engineer our technology for the collective. She moved to the equipment locker, retrieving thermal gear suitable for the blizzard conditions outside. I will return. Naya promised, securing her weapon. I did not survive the destruction of my world to fail. Now I did not travel across the stars to surrender. At the first challenge, I will eliminate the scouts and return. We will complete the amplifier together. Olivia wanted to argue, but recognized the logic behind Naya's decision. Instead, she embraced the alien woman, a gesture that had initially confused Naya, but which she now returned with equal pressure. Be careful, Olivia whispered, though the words were inadequate. Naya nodded, then turned to Grace, who had retrieved something from her pack. Take this, Grace said, offering a small device. It will mask your energy signature for approximately 6 hours. Not completely, but enough to give you an advantage. The scouts will be looking for crystal dragon resonance, not expecting a direct confrontation. Naya accepted the device with gratitude, understanding the human gesture of connection and concern. If I do not return within 12 hours, she said, her voice steady, you must proceed. Without me, the amplifier must be activated regardless. Frostbite will cooperate. He understands what is at stake. With those words, Naya secured her thermal gear, activated the masking device, and slipped out into the storm. The door closing behind her with quiet finality, Olivia and Grace stood in silence for a moment, then turned back to their work. The amplifier still required critical adjustments, complicated calculations, precise calibration. The lives of billions depended on their success. In the corner, Frostbite curled into a tight ball, his scales flickering between colors as he monitored the faint connection with his distant. Dawn broke pale and uncertain through the lingering storm clouds. Olivia stood at the window, scanning the snow-covered landscape for any sign of movement. 11 hours had passed since Naya departed. The deadline she had set approached with merciless precision. Each minute that ticked by diminished hope. Behind her, Grace worked tirelessly at the amplifier, her hands moving with practiced efficiency, despite exhaustion that etched deep lines around her eyes. The device now resembled a crystalline lotus, its petals arranged in concentric circles around a central chamber designed to harness Frostbite's resonance. We are ready, Grace announced, her voice rough from too little sleep, too much coffee. The amplifier is calibrated to Frostbite's frequency patterns. The power systems are stable. The broadcasting array can cover approximately 500 kilometers. Not enough, Olivia said, still watching the empty landscape. Not nearly enough, but a start, Grace countered. If it works, we can build more. Create a network. Expand the coverage with proper resources. We could protect the entire continent within weeks. If Olivia repeated the word, hanging between them. Frostbite suddenly raised his head from where he had been curled beneath the workbench. The dragon's scales shifted from muted gray to brilliant blue. His body tensed, vibrating with anticipation. He moved to the door, making urgent trilling sounds. She's coming, Olivia whispered, relief flooding through her. Grace joined her at the window. Both women strained to see through the swirling snow. At first there was nothing. Then a figure appeared at the edge of the tree line, moving with purpose despite an obvious limp. Silver blood stained the snow behind her. Olivia rushed to the door, throwing it open. The bitter cold struck her face as she hurried out into the snow. Naya stumbled forward, collapsing into Olivia's arms. The alien woman was wounded badly. Multiple burns scored her lavender skin. A deep gash ran across her torso, leaking silver blood that froze upon contact with air. Inside, Olivia and Grace worked quickly to stabilize Naya. The alien woman's breathing was shallow. Her eyes dimmed to a dull amber. 3 eliminated. Naya managed between labored breaths. The fourth escaped, heading toward the main force. How long? Grace asked, applying regenerative bandages to the worst wounds. Hours, perhaps, Naya replied. Less if they have orbital support. Olivia exchanged glances with Grace, both understanding the implications. They were out of time. We need to activate the amplifier now, Olivia said. Naya struggled to sit up. I should monitor the resonance patterns, ensure they match the manipulator frequency. Rest, Grace instructed, gently pushing Naya back down. You've done your part. Now let us do ours. They moved with renewed purpose, transferring the amplifier from the workbench to the center of the room. Frostbite approached the device, sniffing it cautiously. His scales rippled with blue light as he recognized his own resonance pattern embedded in the technology. Will it hurt him? Olivia asked as they made final adjustments. Not physically, Naya answered from her position on the couch, but the connection will be intense, draining. He will experience the manipulator's resistance, feel their disruption. Frostbite made a determined sound, positioning himself in the central chamber, his intelligent eyes fixed on Naya, then Olivia, conveying his readiness. Olivia knelt before the dragon, placing her hand gently on his crystalline head. Thank you, she whispered. Grace activated the preliminary systems. The amplifier hummed to life, lights flickering across its surface as power built within its circuits. Diagnostic readings flashed across connected monitors, showing energy levels stabilizing. On the main screen, a map displayed their location and the projected coverage area, a circle of influence that would extend across the state, perhaps reach neighboring population centers. If it worked, are we ready? Grace asked, her finger hovering over the final activation sequence. As ready as we can be, Olivia confirmed. Naya raised herself on one elbow, silver blood seeping through fresh bandages. Do it, she urged. The collective will have detected our energy signature by now. They will send everything they have. Grace nodded grimly and pressed the activation command. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Frostbite began to glow, his body illuminated from within as though a star had been captured in his crystalline form. The dragon arched his back as the amplifier connected with his natural resonance. A harmonious tone filled the room, rising in pitch and intensity until it reached beyond human hearing. The amplifier responded, its petals opening wider, rotating around the central chamber where Frostbite now hovered several inches above the floor. The crystalline structure pulsed with light, matching the rhythm of the dragon's resonance. Power readings spiked. The cabin lights flickered, then stabilized as auxiliary systems engaged. The amplifier drew enormous energy as it prepared to broadcast. Outside, the clouds parted momentarily, revealing dark shapes descending through the atmosphere, collective ships, their angular forms unmistakable against the morning sky. Now, Grace shouted, increasing power to maximum. Frostbite released a sound unlike anything they had heard before, a perfect harmonic that shattered a nearby glass. Its frequency matched exactly to the neural manipulator's vulnerability. The amplifier captured this sound, magnified it 1,000-fold, and broadcast it outward in an expanding wave. The effect was instantaneous. Monitors displaying news feeds from nearby cities showed people stopping mid-sentence, their expressions changing from anger to confusion. Some clutched their heads momentarily as though experiencing sudden pain. Others looked around bewildered as though waking from a dream. In the command center of a military unit that had been dispatched to detain subversive elements, a general paused, hand hovering over the order to advance. He blinked several times, then rescinded the command, asking instead for clarification of their mission parameters. Across the region, the neural manipulators failed, their crystalline structures disrupted by Frostbite's amplified resonance. Frostbite himself was transformed by the process. His body grew visibly each minute that passed. His wings extended, his form elongated, his scales deepened in color, becoming more defined, more substantial. The juvenile dragon was accelerating through development stages, drawing on some unknown energy source catalyzed by his connection to the amplifier. The resonance wave continued to expand. The monitor showed its progress as it reached neighboring states. its effects weakening with distance but still effective. The collective ships altered their descent trajectories, some attempting emergency landings, others retreating to higher orbit. Their carefully orchestrated invasion suddenly compromised. Naya watched. In amazement, the technology was working better than she had dared hope. The combination of Sylvan knowledge, Earth ingenuity, and crystal dragon resonance had created something new, something powerful. The main screen suddenly showed incoming communication. Request government agencies, military commands, scientific institutions. All suddenly aware that something extraordinary was happening. All tracing the resonance wave back to its source. It's working. Olivia breathed, watching as news programs interrupted, their fear-mongering to report confusion and unexpected changes in public sentiment. The manipulators are failing. Not failing. Grace corrected, studying the data. Transforming. The resonance isn't destroying them, it's reprogramming them, reversing their effects. Naya pushed herself upright, ignoring the pain of her wounds. This is unprecedented, she said. The collective will be thrown into disarray. Their entire strategy depends on manipulated populations prepared for assimilation. Olivia moved to the communication console. The government will be calling soon. Military too. Once the manipulators' effects fade, they'll recognize the threat for what it is. Grace nodded, already documenting the amplifier's specifications, creating schematics that could be shared. We need to build more. Get them to population centers. Protect as many people as possible before the collective regroups. Frostbite finally descended, his transformation complete. Where once had been a creature the size of a large dog now stood a majestic dragon, his wingspan nearly filling the room. His scales shimmered with power. His eyes glowed with intelligence and determination. He approached Naya, touching his snout to her hand, communicating something only she could understand. He has reached his mature form. Naya explained he can maintain the resonance field independently now, and he says more of his kind survived than we thought. Scattered, hidden. But they will come if called. The first official call came through moments later. A military general, his eyes clear for the first time in months, demanded to know what was happening. Olivia took a deep breath and answered with the calm authority of someone who had prepared for this moment her entire life. Outside, more collective. Ships appeared through breaks in the cloud cover, their formations disorganized as they attempted to assess the situation. Without compromised humans to serve as their hosts, the invasion strategy had failed, at least temporarily. You know this means, Naya said softly, watching the ships through the window. The collective won't retreat for long. They will adapt, change tactics, return with direct force. Olivia nodded, observing as Frostbite positioned himself protectively near them, his new size and strength radiating confidence. Then humanity will just have to remember how to stand united, she replied. And this time she smiled at Naya. We have dragons on our side. As government vehicles approached the cabin, their lights visible through the falling snow, Olivia took Naya's hand, ready to help me explain why.